All right. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Sorry I went a little early today. I know I said just yesterday 9 o'clock was going to be our live time, but I have a few friends in this little small channel mafia of YouTube about silver and precious metals that are going live tonight at 9 p.m. And I didn't want to overlap with them. So here we are getting after it early, if you don't mind. I appreciate you guys tuning in. We got a stapler rocking the house right there, and Rural Stacker. Thanks for being here. Thanks for checking in, Rural. Enjoy those laps. Swim hard because we may need to we may be running for our lives eventually here. Yeah, lots of news going on out there. And I think that our channel may have been one of the first precious metals channels to talk about the new U.S. Department of Defense, Department of War, kind of purchasing 40%, right, of the Korea Zinc Refinery Group and building that new refinery plant in Tennessee, adding U.S. jobs, adding U.S. independence on refining of metals, increasing our refined metal production. Really good stuff there. Hey, Reckless Collections and Sober Stacker, thanks for popping in. Before I get too deep in the news, just kind of like, let's take a second to digest what's going on here today, right? Metals were up across the board, including our guy Rhodium, who just, I don't even know what the heck goes on with Rhodium. But yeah, gold currently, with the market being open, I can switch over to that screen. Let's check it out. There we go. Gold is currently 44.36. All of them are kind of going down a little bit this evening as the Asian markets open up here. Silver's at 76.25. Massive gains there. Platinum 22.71. Another great day for platinum. Palladium, I mean, honestly, it was a great day for all the metals. Even gold going up, whatever it was, 2.6% or something around those areas. That's a pretty big day for gold. I know we talked about this. We looked at this. We talked about the charting. And gold is now at that resistance level. So we got that going on for it. I found some cool charts that I'm going to show later that kind of show historic trends all the way back to 100 years, and I pulled the 50-year up because that's a little bit more relevant to all of us that are alive, because I don't think any of us have 100 more years to go. So I'm looking at the historical 50-year charts here, and I don't know, I'm excited from what I see, and I don't know, I hope you guys are too. It's been a great bull market. Let's just say that. Let's get the old bulls out there. Get the bulls. There it is. It's been a pretty solid bull run this last couple of years, and a lot of predictions. I pulled up a ton of articles here, all these different articles at the top. I don't know if you can see the top, but I've got 1 billion articles of all these different people talking about their expectations of 2025, 2026. And, they're all going crazy over Venezuela, saying that's the reason why gold and silvers went up, even though that technically would have a potential for increasing our supply, which is interesting. The stock market goes up, and yet gold and silver are still going up. Doesn't it feel like a lot of the historic reasons about why gold and silver would go up are being kind of obsoleted, that the markets are changing? It used to be this thing that when the stock markets would go up, gold and silver would go down. When the strength of the dollar would go up and the value of the dollar against the world currencies and such would go up, the gold and silver went down. Now, I don't know. I don't see that inverse relationship anymore. It seems like all these markets just move together as one big pile of assets where money flows in and out pretty much at the same exact parallel. So I'm just kind of keeping my eye on it, seeing if something has fundamentally changed with these metals markets and the relations to the kind of U.S. more macro markets. I don't know. It's been really interesting. What are you guys? Do you have any thoughts on that? What are you guys seeing there? Being Becky, hello. Thanks for hopping in here. And Dennis, how's it going? I had a great day buying gold and silver today. I got 1/10 ox of gold for $430. That's a pretty dang good price right there, Dennis. Wow. Under spot for 1/10, which normally holds just that fractional premium. Really great find right there. And 21 ounces of silver for $76 an ounce. Good evening, Mr. Kevin Hawthorne. Appreciate you. Local legend in the house right there, Kevin. Dennis, I did a funny social experiment. So I've listed something for sale before under spot, but the person had to pay shipping, which basically took it to spot. And I had multiple buyers, multiple offers instantaneously. And then recently I put something for sale $2 above spot, but free shipping, which in effect for what I was selling took it to be $2 under spot effectively, like overall net. And I got one person concerned and like didn't end up going through with the deal because he was concerned about how I would ship it in a bubble mailer for 2 ounces of silver. Let's mind you. And then that was it. So I ended up pulling the listing like 20 hours later or 18 hours later. And it was just funny to see the psychological price points, even though one was actually cheaper per ounce if you got it over. Anyway, yeah, long story short, human beings are funny, fickle things. And I'm having fun with just kind of playing around and seeing what people respond to different price points and what the mentality is. But I did find that interesting that it looks like more people are concerned with the price per ounce than overall net how much they are paying per ounce. And I bet right now these online dealers are just raking in the cash. Every single online dealer has a notification on it that says, due to extremely high volume, expect delays in shipping. We apologize for being, sold out of products, yada, yada, yada. Every single one of the online dealers has the same exact thing. You're probably getting emails from all of them if you're a customer of all this stuff. And it's really, really interesting, right? Like we talked about the psychology of markets. Let me see if I can pull it up again. Pull this chart again. Where's a good one? It's easy to read. This is probably the easiest one to read right here. All right. Oh my God. Why does it look like that? Life is hard, okay? All right, here we go. We'll see if we can get one that's not blurry. There we go. All right. Right, we were talking about this on one of the previous live streams and how it doesn't make sense. Yes, the silver price is up, but a lot of things are really, really rising. We've got to be close to this euphoria phase, don't we? I mean, every single LCS that makes YouTube videos is talking about how busy their store is, how the phone keeps ringing, they're working 12-hour days all into the night. We've got online dealers literally just shutting off transactions and such and not being able to fulfill for weeks. Like this feels like we are in that mass euphoria phase. This feels like the Stanley mugs of precious metals, or the Labubus, or the Beanie Babies, or the tulips. Like it feels like we are in that phase where everybody I know is starting to ask questions about precious metals. And it makes me wonder how much over this thrill to euphoria phase we are. I'm really curious to see. I mean, that would indicate, based on this, that we are probably nearing the market top. But then if I go back to all these articles, right? Let's go back to this one. No, not that one. Where's the one that says the guessing? Too many articles up at once. We'll find it. Do you sell things on YouTube? I see some other guys do. I do not currently sell on YouTube. I have had people reach out to me privately through my email address and offer me deals, and I've worked on some deals with a couple of people. That's really I really am more of a buyer than a seller. The only reason I've talked about this, the only reason I'm selling at all on these peer-to-peer networks is to build up my reputation on those things so that transactions are easier in the future if I do need to trade and sell. I don't want to be a new account who nobody knows. And it's the same thing with like eBay, right? You want to build up your eBay deals, your eBay account, so that, people trust your store and they know that you're a reliable seller. and stuff like that. So that's the only reason I'm selling it all. That's why I'm doing it 1 or 2 ounces at a time, just really nothing, because I don't want to. I'm still net buying a ton of silver. So why would I be selling into it if I'm still buying? So I'm just doing it for the reputation part. Crazy how copper rounds are even thinning out from some big bullion sites. Reckless collections. We are actually going to talk about copper. If I didn't show you earlier, the cam is all about copper today on the loaded up camera here. We've got the big 10-pounder, we've got the kilo, we got the coin of copper, and of course our book of the month here being The Noise Factor. Go get it, go read it, find a way to read it. It is fun. It's fun to hear what other people have to say about chasing market noise and constantly trading and stuff like that. So anyway, here's a summary of what Seeking Alpha thinks about gold and silver in 2026. And the point of this conversation was that like everybody is bullish. Like I'm having a hard time finding any real bearish sentiment. Now, I have heard one YouTube channel talk about how they believe that silver is at a top and it's going to have a pretty strong pullback down to around the 40s or mid 30s. And so far, that's the only person I've heard say anything negative. But here's the summary of Seeking Alpha. For gold, the consensus price target among major institutions is 4,800 to 5,000 per ounce by year end. And then basically saying 5,500 2026. That's funny because that's actually kind of where I ended up. I thought we would run up a little bit more and then fall back down. So analysts are mixed but modestly bullish on silver. We got to do this. We got to do this every time we say it, right? We got to do this. There you go. You're welcome. You're welcome, my friends. Analysts are mixed but modestly bullish on silver for 2026, with consensus forecasts pointing to year-end prices in the $70 to $80 per ounce range, which that was fairly good. And then they're going, I see silver climbing above $100 per ounce in the short term, I guess in Q1, and then challenging $150 per ounce during the upcoming year. So that's extremely bullish. That's another doubling. That's, 100% gains are no joke. And I'm going to show you a chart in a little bit once we get to it. You're going to really enjoy these charts over here on macrotrends.net. If you're not familiar with this group, you're going to enjoy this conversation, I think, about these different charts. But I'm getting ahead of myself. I didn't want to jump too deep because I'm going to run out of steam too fast. You know what I mean? Be like a shooting star tonight if I do that. As long as global liquidity, including stablecoin issuance, continues to trend higher, Bitcoin price to follow. This person is extremely bullish on Bitcoin as well. 150,000 Bitcoin in 2026, which was that's almost a doubling of Bitcoin at its current point. So what is it? What does it mean when all assets keep rising and rising and rising when we're having nothing but higher and higher uncontrollable inflation? Unemployment keeps increasing. Businesses keep laying people off. Like, someone help me understand the disconnect between what seems to be happening in the USA and like what's really happening with all of our financial markets. It's not tracking with me with reality. I don't know why. I expect another solid year for the Nasdaq, but for gains to be moderate again, with the index ending a year up 10 to 15%. Isn't it funny that an indice increasing by 10 to 15% is like small? That's like you're doubling your money every 6 years. And that in any other environment, in any other timeline prior to 2021, probably a 15% gain in 1 year would be looked at as like you are probably one of the greatest investors that exists. And then we look at it now in the year 2025, 2026, and 15% gains seem boring because we can do that in a day. We can do that in an hour in some markets. It's just the ability to make money in markets is getting crazy. And I don't know. I feel like there is a euphoria stage in the markets, but as long as we keep pumping money into the system, I mean, what is truly going to stop it from going up? I mean, it's at the end of the day, inflation is going to drive assets up as well. So I found that to be very, very, very weird. Jorge Mendez, sure, I'll take any questions you got. I mean, I'm not like the, I'm the smartest man in the world about everything, but I'll do my best to kind of give my opinion and we can play off of each other in the chat. But yeah, you're always welcome. This is a live show for a reason. I do all my live shows with the intention of interacting with whoever's there and also welcome. So I wanted to go to these charts. I want to go to these charts in just a second, but let me pop over here for a second and I will slow down real quick, see what you guys got, what you guys are thinking about. It's going on here. Magic Moon says you can lose it all in 15 minutes. Yeah, that comes with the territory with investing, right? If you want to guarantee not to lose your cash, you can just put it in a, well, that's not even a guarantee either, because banks are only FDIC insured up to 150,000. So if you have more than that, you're not even guaranteed to get that. And even then, if a bank is going in default, like you got to bet your bottom that you're not going to be one of the first people paid out, right? There's going to be a lot of other entities that get paid out before they go to an individual account owner and give them what they're owed by the federal government and all that. So we'll see. I don't know. You guys tell me where your money is guaranteed to always be returned without losing anything, and I'll let you know. I'll agree with you, but I haven't found it yet, and I'm in almost every market. But yeah, there's risk with everything. I feel like those politics, or not politics, I feel like those things should be just like a standard, like a standard expectation of any discussion about moving cash into a different system. You guys get what I mean? Silver Dracoon, when you're taking a shower, do you ever watch a single bead of water as it's streaming down your chest? Nah, can't say that I do. But other people might. I don't know. I don't know. Not for me, bud. And where's your I'm selling everything price? My I'm selling everything price is not in my age bracket, if that makes sense. So I'm not currently of the age where selling everything is an option. If I were, in my elder years and I was having trouble taking care of myself, or I felt like my mental faculties were fading to where I couldn't make good decisions and stuff like that, at that point I would consider, no matter what the price was, selling everything, or setting up a trust to have it passed down appropriately to hopefully my heirs at the time. But I don't think there's a situation where I would sell everything. Now, trading something for another thing and moving a portion of your stack into other things, I'm actually a big advocate of that. Here you go. This is for all you guys out there. There you go. You like that? If you need to go back and pause it or slow that video down, you can go back and watch the disclaimer. But you should just make assumptions that that disclaimer is running constantly when I'm talking, because I'm just talking about what I'm doing. I'm not telling you what you should be doing. Penny Scout, not to bring politics. I hate them all. But as long as they refuse to get along, nobody can tell what is going on. Hoop rolls downhill and it starts at the top. Well, I mean, yeah, I'm not just talking about politics with like the Federal Reserve, right? They're apolitical, right? They're not part of the federal government political system, right? They're independent. I don't know. I think they all stand they're part of a club. We're not in it. No, we're definitely George Carlin. We are not in that club. I mean, at the end of the day, politicians are like babies' diapers. They should be changed early and often, right? Barbara Wall, what's going on? Speed reading class. Yeah, you go back in the video and you can slow it down to like 25% speed and you can read the standard disclaimer, right? If you want to read that. So anyway, what's your selling price? Jorge Mendez, I talk about this more with the GSR. Let me see if I can pull up the SD Bullion chart. It's easiest on that one. I don't see SD Bullion tab, so let me go here. And I'm going to get into those cool charts in a second here. So if I go to a silver, actually, I want to go to the GSR. I don't have a sell everything. I don't even have really a sell anything. What I did is I took like a portion of my stack at around 65 GSR and I sold silver from one vendor, and then I walked to another vendor and I purchased gold with it. And right now I am more interested in purchasing gold than I am silver. I'm letting my silver just increase in value. Gold is increasing as well, but just not at the same rate. So I'm able to find good deals at spot or close to spot for pieces that I want to pick up, and adding to my gold overall stack. And that's kind of my play with it. If silver were to go to 100 an ounce, I would probably take 25% of my stack and do the exact same thing. transfer 25% of my stack, sell it, and transfer it into something else. I'm also heavily looking into oil stocks, and I have been for a few weeks. I've been kind of like informing everybody, like kind of that's where I'm looking. There's a lot of plays with that. I know a lot of people are like trading miners and things, but that's not really my play. I'm more interested in just kind of the physical stuff, and then I use the stocks as like an additional way to trade in and out through primarily options, and then I'm converting the proceeds from that back into the precious metals and things like that. So it just wherever I think I can move something to have a faster rate of growth. And for me, when silver hits $100 an ounce, I think we're going to see, obviously we'll be close to 45 to 1 on the GSR at that point, I would guess, or maybe 50 to 1 if gold goes up quite a bit. And at that point, I'm stronger. I'd rather be buying gold than silver at that point. Selling price is 75 years old. Yeah, exactly. I know a guy who called the exact bottom back in March of 2020. He issued an all-in signal around $12 an ounce. His name is J.M. Rock, author of the book Death by Socialism. Interesting. Great Lakes Joe, how you doing this evening? Thanks for hopping in here and hanging out with us today. All right. So yeah, the GSR. Again, if I had an all out, I don't know how you guys feel. Tell me what you guys would do. Is there a price, anybody out there, if you saw silver or gold get to a certain price, would you sell it all? And if you sold it all, like what would you be putting it into? I'm curious. Like for me, the only thing that would cause me to sell all of my precious metals and like I mean all of my stocks and all, I mean this is a lot of money, would be to purchase something absurd like a city or something at a great price that I could rehab and rebuild and, you know, rent out to tenants or something, you know, like a Main Street or a massive, you know, hundreds of acre, you know, resort or something like that. That would be the things that would make me sell, because I would be converting my hard assets, I guess, into another hard asset that has potential. I don't know. I don't really think about it. If I sold it all, I would sell it into gold. Yeah, Magic Moon, I'm with you, buddy. I'm 100% with you. Like that's where I would be going right now. Is if you do feel that silver is just on a rubber band or something, and that it's being stretched too high and it's going to snap back, well then why wouldn't you sell your silver at the top and then wait for the pullback and buy back? Now, of course, if silver doubles again from there, well, you just kind of screwed yourself, didn't you? So that's the risk that's why I always say don't do all or none. Never be an all or noneer, you know? Just kind of like do 10% here, 10% there, and that way if it does run up, you still have your other 80 or 90%. And if it falls like crazy, well, you can redeploy that 10%, 20% back into something else. No sell, no tell. Yeah, okay, Stapler. Okay, I see you. Yes, 10 to 1, I trade all silver. So Brandon Wallace has a price point, but it's based on the price of gold and silver. And you're saying you trade all your silver in for gold, I'm assuming, with that one. Silver doesn't have to follow gold. I see predicting the GSR to be as difficult as predicting spot. Mustard and biscuits, exactly. Like there's a lot of scenarios that affect the GSR, right? Especially when you're dealing with two assets that can both go up and go down at varying, you know, velocities. That's what causes the GSR to crunch. I wouldn't try to predict anything. I think the play is to just have your own strategy and stick to that strategy. Like if for instance, Brandon Wallace, if he's saying that when silver gets to 10 to 1, that's when he's going to trade all of his silver in for gold. My assumption with Brandon would be that he is still buying silver like crazy right now because he expects one of two things, right? Like either gold's going to come down dramatically and make it, you know, 10 to 1, or silver's going to go up at a faster pace than gold goes up and make it 10 to 1. In either scenario, he's better off having the silver right now moving into gold. That's his strategy. That may not be my strategy, may not be your strategy, right? But that's what we, you know, again, everybody has their own little strategies here. Gold is the end game for me. Roadkill. Roadkill 80. What's up, man? Roadkill 80. If you guys don't know, this man, Roadkill 80, is almost always consecutively the very first person to drop the YouTube comments on our video. So I appreciate you, Roadkill. You and Mr. L. Manuel are always up there. For me, hopefully, unless silver turns out to be, if silver comes out, I genuinely think, I think a lot of people will be shaken out of the silver market if it ever got to $1,000 an ounce. I think a lot of people who, you know, a lot of us have, you know, I would assume that most people in this chat have, you know, 500 ounces or more, if not 1,000 ounces or more. So when you start talking about silver at the quadruple digits, that's like generational, like that's money. That's a lot of money. You know what I mean? For people. And I think a lot of people would look at that and go, if there's a place to sell it, they would sell it, and then they would probably go buy themselves a home and a boat or something like that. You know what I mean? Going to be a mansion in the Philippines when I retire. There you go, honest value. I like it. Going to buy a mansion in the Philippines when I retire early. I have a buddy who just went to the Philippines for a wedding, and I think he's back in the U.S. now. TFT, Ant of Egypt, welcome back. Thanks for being here. Penny Scout, that is exactly what I am doing. And at the time, if it was $10 an ounce, then oh well, I will be as old. I won't care. Yeah, Penny Scout. I mean, it's not a good feeling when you lose, you know, 70-80% of your value for decades. But you know, if you're somebody who like otherwise would just be blowing your money and spending it, like what is it? You know, it's probably not the worst place to put your money. You know what I mean? Make sure it's hurricane proof. Yeah, the Philippines do get hit with hurricanes constantly. But they're kind of used to it, man. It's crazy. You see videos, these guys are like, homes are flooded, but they'll just work through it again, right? I just keep my normal purchase plan like I did before. All roads lead to gold for me, buying some 90% and trading on a schedule. Being Becky now, I am a 90% buyer myself. I actually just bought, I think it was a small order. I think I bought $5 face of some walkers, baby. Heck yeah. And I just put 18 or $9 face of Franklin's into my collection. So, you know, the goal is still moving forward for the $50 collection. Ebenezer Fox Sr. After I've held my longs into a final squeeze, I tend to. All right. I'm guessing you sound like you're somebody who has a portion of your stack. It sounds like you have a portion of your stack or your investments in like a more of a trading sort of bucket, and then you have another stack in the, you know, more permanent bucket, and that's perfectly fine. I get you. I think that's what I'm reading from there. Liquidate your shorts. Where would inflation be if silver went to $1,000? Yeah, Magic Moon. Let's not let's not think about that, right? We're probably not living our best lives if silver and gold are that high. I don't know. I also have the added benefit of living in British Columbia and also find gold. That's cool. That's really cool. You guys got there and panning and stuff and checking that out. All right. This was the news. I kind of like a buddy of mine sent me the message. And if you don't know, again, I'm not going to read this out to you because I already have an entire video on this. But U.S. secures silver smelter deal to process Latin metals. Okay. And so this is financed. This deal was financed by JP Morgan and is jointly owned by the Department of Defense. They're putting billions. So under the plan, the U.S. Department of Defense will hold a 40% stake in the JP Morgan Chase financed smelter joint venture, and that is with Korea Zinc. And what they're going to be doing is they're going to be building a new, a large investment in Clarksville, Tennessee, to basically build a refinement plant for all those precious metals. Again, I'm not going to bore you with the whole article again. And just to validate this, because you know when I jumped on it, I jumped on it so fast that I didn't honestly put that much due diligence into verifying. But I've gone through since, and I've read like 4 different articles. Reuters, the Department of Economic and Community Development from Tennessee, also discussing the plans and the deals. So this wasn't a like fly by the seat of our pants made up article. There are multiple supporting documents and articles about this. So that is a pretty big deal. And I do wonder, what is that going to do? Because right now we're all the refiners that we've got, you know, that our wholesalers and our distributors and our local coin shops are trying to deal with, are backed up on refining sort of like unpure non 9999 silver. So in a few years, we're going to have this massive new state of the art refining plant. And this may be huge for those of us purchasing, sterling and 90% and 40% and 35% war nickels and all that kind of stuff. This may be really, really big for us in the future, as refining catches back up. Now, who the heck knows what the price and value of silver is going to be 3-4 years from now when this plant gets online? Also, who the heck knows if, I hate to say this again, not being political, but this plant isn't going to finish until really after the current administration's term. It is possible, just like the Keystone Pipeline kind of situation, where a new administration comes in and decides, you know what? No, we don't want, mining and drilling and fracking and all this stuff. They may decide to just kibosh the whole thing. We never know. We never know. But currently, this is what's in the works. This is the plan, right? Do I like cars? Joseph Von Weaver. I do like cars, man. I've never been somebody who's owned really fancy vehicles because in my lifetime, they've always been just utility, right? There are vehicles that get me to a place to earn income, or to take my family on trips, right? I look at them as tools. And so knowing that I'm going to beat them down and kind of destroy them, I've never really owned really nice cars. But if I ever have a place with a really big garage and I can take care of them, little trickle lines of electricity into the battery and all that stuff, and I can keep them clean and protected and covered, there is a world, Joseph, where I would be looking at some really nice old sort of like Shelby Cobras, Dodge Vipers, Corvettes, those kind of cars. I would love to have a really nice allotment. There's a lot of them out there that I really, really like. I like the old Jaguars. Aston Martins, I think, are beautiful cars. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff that I would probably dump my money into in the future if I could. If I just right now where I live in a more rural area near Washington, D.C., and it's just not practical to have a bunch of value in vehicles. You know what I'm saying? Do the displaced Hyundai Korean workers get to work there? No, Stapler. They are, if you actually are interested, you can read this article here, but they are going to be creating jobs and transferring jobs. So there's already a refinement plant in Tennessee. And what they're going to basically do is they're going to be leveraging they will have some Koreans come over and support and train and teach and probably work here. But for the most part, it's going to be staffed by knowledgeable Americans from what I've been reading. That's the plan, right? Again, everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the face. But there is a plan. There is a plan to use American workers to do this, because I said there's a lot. They have like decades of experience and skills from doing it in Tennessee already. So, all right. Question for Dragoon and group. Yeah, obviously ask everybody. If anybody's asking a question, we're having a conversation about it. Absolutely, guys. Assume that the question is for you and me. And I will have to get to my freaking chart soon. I'm enjoying the engagement. I might have to do these longer than an hour. I don't know. Have your stacking plans changed amid geopolitical events over the past 2 weeks, aside from China restrictions? Let me repeat that since I read it kind of quick. Have your stacking plans changed amid geopolitical events over the past 2 weeks, aside from China restrictions? For me, TFT, absolutely not. Because one of the major reasons why I stack silver and gold and platinum and other things is because this world is a world of war, tensions, posturing, threatening. My entire life, I can't think of one adult moment in my life where there was not some conflict somewhere. And part of the reasons why I want precious metals and real money and hard assets is because I do realize that this world is always in turmoil and nothing will ever change that. If you're talking explicitly about Venezuela, Venezuela's situation changes absolutely zero about my stacking strategy at all. Hopefully they will be LBMA COMEX qualified, since we only have one that is Asahi. I didn't think about that, Greg Olson. That's a good point. We can look into that as we get, maybe that's something we can cover in 2 to 3 years from now when this gets all a little bit closer, right? We'll wait until that gets closer. Cars get you to point A and B. Yeah, I mean that's what they do for me. Now there are car collectors, Penny Scout. There are people out there that have, you know, the space and the capacity to really properly maintain them and care for them the right way. And obviously some older, you know, limited production cars that are just kind of aren't, you know, you just can't find them in the modern world as much. If you maintain them, they can be very, very valuable assets to hold on to. You're just not going to be daily driving that sucker, right? Don't be jealous of my 2007 F-150, guys. Hey, man, I got a, I think, what is it, a 2011 F-250 Super Duty. I've got, I don't even know, man. I think a 2011 Mazda 3. I've got a 2009 Volkswagen CC. I got a little bit of everything, man. I just keep them running. Let's see. I got one with what, 90,000 miles, one with 160,000 miles, and one with 70,000 miles. So, I got plenty of cars. a 28 Murano, baby. I'm really into cars. Being that you're around DC, it must be fun to take kids to the sites. Do you like the movie National Treasure? National Treasure is a cool movie. I haven't seen it in forever. And DC is a beautiful town. On my, I don't know if I still have too many posts, but I used to post pictures of DC constantly. In fact, I was just there in November or December. Maybe it was December. And I posted a bunch of pictures of like the White House and stuff like that. And, the Capitol building, Lincoln Memorial, the Washington Memorial, you know, the Union Station, all that kind of stuff. No bragging, baby. Exactly. I know a guy who has a 95 Impala SS. See, now you go. There you go, Jorge. That's what I'm talking about. I like those kind of cars. The Chevelles, the Impalas, all those cool old cars. Thunderbirds. Those are sweet, man. Abel Hurtado says Pokemon cards are the better buy than bullion. I don't know if they are right now. I would beg to differ. Now, I don't know. Maybe they are. Maybe they're not. I don't really track every set or anything to find out what's going on with that. Did you hear we're about to take over Greenland? No, I have not heard that we're going to take over Greenland. I've just heard that we want we want Greenland. It makes sense. That's a pretty militaristically important location. I can understand wanting to own Greenland for that. I don't know if Greenland has like minerals and stuff that we want, but I do see it as a position on the map that we'd like to secure. I change my stacking goals probably once a month, keeping it a don't get sucked in hobby. Been doing that for years. Yeah, Penny. So are you saying that like you have to take a step back because there's just too much to stack? All right. Let me switch gears real quick. Okay. All right, guys. I was looking around. Can we see the screen here? Yeah. Let me check. This is important. I'm going to run this again. You guys got it? Read it quick. All right. Okay, we're good? We all good? We understand? Like, right? Past performance is not indicative of the future. Okay, anyway. All right, so I was looking at these 100-year historical charts because I'm an idiot and I love history. And so 100-year charts, and I dropped it down to the 50-year, okay? So we can see at the 50-year, right? You can see these spikes in the 1980s. We all know Hunt Brothers. Boom, nice, okay? And then the immediate crash the next 2 years. All right, we got 2011. These are nothing new. Every single channel talks about this stuff constantly. I get it, okay? Boom, and then a crash. And then we stayed stable. Now we've got our next uptrend. The key question is this time different, right? What has changed between 2011, right, and 2026 that could make this time be sustained? Now, the positive, though, if we're just looking at this chart, the positive is even after the run-up in 2011, right, we dropped down to 20, but we ran up from 5, okay? So 5 to 50 is a 10xer. So we got a 10-bagger, and then we still stayed at a 3-bagger. All right, it's not terrible. That sucks, but it's not terrible, right? Now we've run up to the 75 level, and in theory, if we're going to drop, let's say we drop 50%, we're falling back down to like the 35 to 40 range if we're following history. Now, hopefully this time's different. I don't know. All right, here's the adjusted for inflation. If you guys care, I know we all like to talk about this. I've been saying this for a while, and nobody wants to hear me out. Nobody ever wants to listen to me, and that's fine. But if you adjust for inflation, we are in a pretty good spot for where we quote-unquote should be based on inflation adjustment. Sure, we haven't peaked the Highest of the highs. I get it. Okay. We haven't peaked the highest of the high. Like, if you adjust for this inflation point here, look how high we should be. I get it, but that's not the way the world works all the time. You don't just go from one high to the next high. So what's interesting is that the inflation adjustment is actually still peaking. We are actually in a good spot there. I don't know. I'm just trying to pose you guys. Don't kill me. Don't shoot the messenger. I'm just trying to share some counter arguments for this belief that silver is going to go to ridiculous numbers. I could be completely wrong. This may not even be truly what I believe, but I'm just sharing the information, right? When military talks new locations, they like to use the word strategic. Yeah. So what I read is that you are giving financial advice and totally liable like AI guy. Yeah, right. AI guy, that's the one. I don't really care about AI guy at all. I don't watch it anyway. You could get all that information if you just did a quick, hey AI, XAI, summarize for me all the things that have happened in the last month regarding precious metals, and you'd get the same information. The only issue with the AI channels that I have is that there's ultimately nobody to be held responsible for misinformation or mistakes. There's just no entity to sort of like detach from, right? I don't know if that makes sense, but it's kind of weird. Anyway, that's enough about that. I really don't care. I don't like talking about other channels because everybody's in here trying to do their best that they can, and they're trying to create new ideas, and they're trying to find, some of them are trying to find easy money, and like I'm not the moral authority of the world, so do what you got. You can do what you want to do. F in the chart. Ain't no way to go back into the 30s. F that chart. Got you. More people, more money in the system, more market intelligence, less of a physical. There is, so ultimately, Stapler, what you're saying is because there is more transparency and more access to these markets, that the rig is up, the gig is up, the game is up, and they're going to trade more at their like real levels instead of like the fake controlled levels. Jorge Mendez, if you like history, you'll love the book Death by Socialism by J.M. Rock. I'll make you a promise right now, Jorge Mendez. I'll make you a promise. I will order this book, but the problem is I have right now 5 books in my queue of things that I need to read or that I want to read. So although I will order it, it may be quite a bit before I can have a conversation with you about it. From my own knowledge, if that makes sense. Okay, so hold on. Death by Socialism. We're gonna order it right here for you. All right, give me a second. All right, I'm gonna leave myself a note. All right, we're good. Got it. All right, back to it. Physical in Kuwait is 95. Okay, nice. Marley knew something about going from one high to the next. Good old Bob Marley's catching strays. Our oil refineries are a mess too. We are not set up for USA. Sweet crude only. Dirty crude like with Venezuela has. Greg Olson. So yes, Greg, I think that's so. It's very funny that there was an article. Do I have anything that's talking about Venezuela? Maybe this article is talking about Venezuela. Yeah, this article was talking about Venezuela a little bit. You want to know something funny, ladies and gentlemen? Isn't it really interesting that the big oil executives were given notice 2 weeks in advance of the Venezuelan leader being taken out, that they were having conversations with the government about wheeling and dealing and making deals to go in there and basically rebuild the infrastructure, the oil flowing infrastructure of Venezuela prior to Maduro being taken out. That shows me 2 things. One, there's always going to be massive insider intelligence that the rest of us do not have. Okay, we can try to be as forward thinking as we can, but at the end of the day, there's going to be winners, and the winners get information that you and I don't get well in advance. Well in advance. Okay. The second thing that tells me is that they were extremely confident that they were going to succeed in removing Maduro one way or another from being the head of Venezuela. Again, I'm not trying to talk about morality or anything like that. It's just what happened in this world. And I find that fascinating. Fascinating. And that is kind of probably scary to other nations that might want to be enemies or stand up to Trump. Here, hold on, y'all might like this. Maybe you will, maybe you won't. Let me see if I can do this.
So I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. When I get there, we're going to do this, we're going to take. And now, if you don't know, now you know.
There you go. That's all we'll talk about that. That's all we'll say about that, right? All right. Back to the silver chart. Stop distracting me. No, it's that club again. Yep, mustard and biscuits. George Carlin, man of intelligence, right there. Only because Hess isn't a big player, big any longer. I mean, I would imagine it's going to be Chevron, ExxonMobil, Philip Morris. I mean, it's going to be the big guys. What's the other one? I don't know. There's a few of them. It's going to be all those same things. Okay, it'll be all those groups. Do you recall a time the difference in physical and paper price was this much wider, this much worldwide? Well, Aliyah, I do not know. I mean, maybe other people do. I do find it fascinating that the Asian markets are so significantly more than the U.S. markets, but at the same time, markets, like, they always fluctuate, and they fluctuate at different levels. So while I don't recognize it in the metals markets, it is that way in other markets quite often. So, all right, this is the part that I thought you guys might be interested in. Okay. Annual percent changes over the last 50 years. And I want to show you something I found interesting. All right. Here's gold. So same charts. You guys don't care, do you? Same chart in gold. Gold looks pretty good. I don't know about y'all, but gold looks pretty strong. Almost in a way stronger than silver. And actually, with its adjusted for inflation over the last 50 years, gold is actually doing better than silver. Anyway, which I guess would indicate silver might theoretically have more to run. There is gold, and here is copper. Copper doesn't have the 50-year chart. It only since 1960. But look at that. Look at copper's chart. That's a pretty strong looking chart too. All right. And then we go down here to the annual percent change. Now, here's what I wanted to look at. So you're going to have to keep up with me. Look at the screen, guys. Okay. This is silver. You can tell it's silver because it has this gigantic green bar to the left. This is gold. Multiple gigantic green bars to the left. You see it? That's silver, gold, copper. I'm going to flip through these very quickly. So that's why I'm trying to make you... I want to scroll back up and get the name of it. Copper, gold, silver. Okay. Silver, 1980s, has a massive run-up from the Hunt brothers, followed by 2 years of basically 50% losses, which means that this silver, in 2 years after its massive spike, so 2 years after its massive spike, lost 75% of its value over the next 2 years, because minus 50 1 year and minus 50 the next year is 75% of the previous total. Are we tracking, everybody? Are we good? Are we on the same page right now? Give me a 1 for yes, keep going, or 2 for shut the hell up and talk about Venezuela, okay? You got 1 or 2. Copper sold out at Money Metals, J and Bullion, and the sold chart for eBay on 1 to 4 to 26 is a mile long. Yeah, I'm getting to copper. Okay, Greg Olson, this is all building up to copper, funny enough. Okay, I probably just lost all the audience with that statement right there. But this is all building to copper, okay? That's silver. Now, let's go over to 2011. We had a 57% run-up, followed by an 80% run-up, followed by an 8% loss, then a 6% gain, so pretty much balanced out a little bit. Didn't balance out, but then look, minus 35%, minus 18%, minus 14%. I know the chart's a little small. I don't know that with every one of these stupid things tries to put like 1,000 ads on it, and you can't see anything because of it, but here we go. You see this? So 2011, our run up into 2011 had two very strong years, followed by basically a downtrend for the next like 10 years, or no, let's call it 8 years. Okay. Are we tracking with where I'm going with this? Now let's look at gold. Look at gold. Massive run up in the 80s, just like silver. Nobody ever really seems to talk about that, but whatever. Gold had a massive run up, just like silver in the 80s period. Then it had a small year, and then it got tanked 32%. Then it had a little bit of a 12% rebound, and then tanked 14, 19. So in the 4 or 5 years after the massive run up, gold got hammered. All right. Then it got hammered pretty much until the next setup around 2001. Then it had good growth from 2001 to 2011. This is where, again, if you scroll up to the chart, it's explaining this movement right here. You guys see it? This is just the annual up and downs. But then it got out of control, and look what happened. It got hammered 30%, 0.5%, and then 12%, all in the next 3 years. Okay. I think it's realistic. I don't want to be the party pooper. I think it's realistic that if we're looking at silver's chart, 21%, 148%, we've already started the year strong. I do think that this year is going to be a strong year. I'm going to just tell you, though, I am very concerned after 2026, based on historical trends, unless you guys all firmly believe that everything is totally different than history. I am concerned that after 2026, there will be a lot of negative pressure on the silver and gold, okay? If we look at copper, copper is a more extreme version of this. We talk about manipulation in the silver and gold market all these times, but like it's interesting if you really look at copper's charts. Copper has massive run-ups and then like 50% sell-offs constantly. If you need the proof, here's the proof, right? I mean, just look at almost every single big uptrend is followed by an equivalent 50% downtrend, right? Or 50% of the gain. So if it gained 40%, it loses. Look, gains 43, massive year, drops. Okay, starts to gain, drops. Starts to gain, drops a ton. Has a massive year, has a massive drop. Modest year, massive drop. Modest year, massive drop, right? Copper, if of all the metals, I would say that copper is probably the one that's being most like, either they have just like this abundant of like warehouse supply that they can just tap into at any, like, okay, oh, we need to, guys, we need more copper. Just throw more copper into the market and crash it. I don't know what happens here. Something's happening with copper. But if I do look, though, at copper's chart, even through the modest, like the 50% crashes every time it goes up, it's still, since 1960, not many people talk about copper, but that sucker is on a pretty decent trajectory. And let's do some math here, right? I've heard somebody say like, hey, the reason nobody cares about copper is because it's traded by the pound and not by the ounce. Silver's by the pound or by the ounce, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so silver not that long ago was what? This is the ancient times, guys. Oh, is that the inflation adjusted? Hold on, we don't want inflation adjusted. Sorry. This is ancient times, guys. Ancient times. Very ancient times. January 2003. Silver was $4.87 an ounce. Which means 6, 12, 18, 24, 40, 64. That means it was only $64 a pound. So, like, why wasn't anybody talking like, well, what's going on? Are we going to talk crap about silver because it was only $64 a pound and copper's only $6 a pound? It seems very realistic that in our lifetimes, guys, just based on the chart, nothing else, it seems realistic to me that in our lifetime, like, look at this. This was $1 and now it's $5. This is just in the last, since 2003. Copper's gone from $1 to $6. I'm not trying to sell anybody on copper because it's very heavy to stack a reasonable amount of, value. But I think it's very likely that in the next like 15 to 20 years, copper could be in that $10 to $12 range, maybe $15 range. And a lot of it's driven by hyperinflation. I'm not saying it's not. But all of a sudden, it's starting to be in the realm of where silver was at in 2003. I'm just, again, read into it what you will. I just find it very fascinating how different metals get different like reputations based on, their abundance and their availability and the way they're traded and their price. But I think it all comes down to, honestly, psychologically, I think people think of more expensive assets as better and less expensive assets as worse. And I think it comes down to be literally as simple as that. If silver was not supply restrained and used heavily in manufacturing, history would mean more. Barry, so Barry, are you, we talked about it a little bit earlier. Barry, are you on the side of, you feel like this time is different, essentially, that this year and this run up is different than the prior? And I mean, I'm just curious if you were. Also, remember one of my segments was I was going to be challenge AI predictions and ask AI. Well, I asked AI yesterday what they thought silver was going to end up at. And they said, by the way, 70 to 71 today. So AI is 0 for 1, by the way. They need massive amounts of copper for AI. Yeah, well, so also Greg Olson, they need massive amounts of silver. So think about AI. Anytime you think about AI, Greg Olson is right. AI equals data, equals cloud infrastructure, equals servers, right? It's data centers, all that kind of stuff, which equals millions of electrical connections. It also means that you need significant amounts of energy to power that. You need energy for the cooling, right? You need water flow for the cooling. You need energy for the flow of the water. Like, all of that stuff needs to be built out. So silver and copper are going to be massively more and more and more and more in demand in our current economy. I get copper for free and scrap for cash. That turns into silver. That is what I think of copper. Hey, nice, Penny Scout. Nice, nice, nice. Penny, if you ever get down to smelting down your own copper, I'll probably buy some from you if you want. I graduated in 23, and the housing market started to tank, and the economy was garbage. This is what I do with copper too. A short cash game, and it worked. There you go. Hey, I see a ton of people flipping copper coins online. Like, if you could, I'll be honest with you, if you could go and you could buy like 500 1-ounce copper rounds for like $1 each, you could probably sell them for $3 to $10 each online. Vegas stacking, what's up? Vegas, I promise I am not trying to run over you and Blue Collar's evening Monday Night Metals. I started an hour early so that we could close up in time for you guys to get your comeuppance. You know what I mean? Hope you understand that. Hope you know that. I'm not trying to crush y'all's toes on this one. I could see $20 per pound copper in the near future. Greg, I think I could see it in probably the next 30, 40 years for sure. Copper applications are narrow in range and more limited by elasticity dynamics. I'm holding copper is silly. That metal moves, so keep it moving. Yeah, and there's other ways you could play copper if you really wanted to play it on the paper trade. You could technically do that. I just think that I'm just throwing that chart out there because I think that chart. I'm just putting information out there. Everybody can do with it what they want, but I'm just saying this is a chart from 1960 to 2020. And through all its up and downs and all the, what I think is blatant, what I would say is blatant market manipulation and market controls, with every single time it goes up, it gets massively crushed. I would just say, yeah, copper's still holding strong. No chance for 20 pound copper in 20 years. Yeah, I would say $20. Sorry, I'm like mixing up words. I would say 20 pound copper would be in like the next 30 to 40, I think, something like that. I could see 10 to 15 though in the next 20 years though. Current consumer accessible AI is good at searching Google. Yeah, there you go. It's good at searching like Twitter too. But in fairness, if you watch a lot of mainstream media, they're citing sources from Twitter as well. So at what point does any of this even matter? It's almost like the fool is reporting on the fool to convince the fool at some point here. 2003. I don't know. What did I say? I probably mixed up my words. But yeah, flipping is the game. Exactly. We have a bingo. Yeah. I mean, everybody makes money somehow, some way, right? Make your money, sell people things that they want, make your margins, and then flip the proceeds into something that you believe in long term that can grow your wealth. That's life, man. That's the game. I do have copper and gold miner stocks. There you go, Barry. Shower time. Thanks for the chat. Yep. Take care, Penny Scout. Thanks for being here. Appreciate you guys. All right. So that's what's been going on, man. And I'm currently, even though I think we might have this kind of a day today, right? We're probably going to have a little bit of a bear day today because we had such a big run up yesterday. But overall, guys, I am feeling my sentiment overall right now is very, very, very bullish. I do think that we still have room to go over the next 3 to 6 months, $100 silver is in the pipeline. But I do think that we're going to get massive resistance at $100. And I think that that will lead, honestly, I think that that will lead into a negative 2027 for the price of some of these metals, as I think extraneous pressure is going to be put on keeping them lower at some point here. Oh, I said 23 instead of 2003. Yeah, you're fine. You're fine. You're good, buddy. All right. I'm going to be wrapping it up here soon, guys. I appreciate you guys all for tuning in, liking, subscribing. The new subscribers that came in, I saw a couple of you come in during the live stream. Thank you so much for being here. Channel members, as always, you guys rock out. I appreciate you guys very much for your paid support. It does go a long way, and what it does is it leads to ever increasing giveaways and such like that as we kind of continue to grow the channel. So also, I did get an email, by the way. You guys know I have my stickers. I just got the email today that said my poker chips have shipped. The poker chips have shipped. So as soon as those come in, I will be able to put together my swag packs for those of you that have sent the postcards or the letters or whatever you've got. Again, you guys probably saw the new scrolling marquee at the top of my screen. I wanted to make it easier to find, so there you go. Anyway, go over there and watch Monday Night Metals on Vegas Stacker and Blue Collar Stackers channels. Appreciate you guys so much for hanging out with me. Until next time, ta-ta. Oh, wait, one more thing we got to do. Hold on. We got to do one more thing. I keep forgetting. Let's see if Grok's awake. Yo, you awake, Grok? Grok was 0 for 1. He was wrong yesterday. Let's see if he can be right today. Based on macro events, technical analysis, and fundamental analysis, where do you predict silver and gold will end the day tomorrow, Tuesday, January, is it 6? Ciao, ciao, ciao! Later on, Magic Moon. Thanks for always hopping in and giving the conversations up. $100 box of nickels from the bank is worth $130 in melt. Interesting. That's a lot of weight, my friends. A lot of weight to hold. I'm just waiting for the GSR to drop so I can flip, then the GDR to drop, then sell, rinse, repeat. Okay. So yeah, Claudia, I think you could do that. You could definitely play those things up and down. I've seen a lot of people doing it. For me, if I just take my silver and I use it to get gold. And the reason I'm so heavy, like I would rather have $250,000 in gold than $250,000 in silver. And the only reason is because I can leverage the gold as a collateralized loan in the future. And I could use that to purchase, properties. I could use that to purchase a business, right? And then if I pay off my loan, I still have my gold and I have the business or the property or the land or whatever. Does that make sense? So there is a reason why I do consistently push more towards gold rather than silver. But silver, again, right now with that run up that it's having, you'd be a fool not to want to own some, right? In the book, there's also a chapter on the failings of Bitcoin. You'll probably like that assessment. Yeah, I'll check it out. I got no problem with owning Bitcoin. I feel like $70,000-$80,000 is not a bad spot to decide to hop in there and own Bitcoin. TJ Mo, thanks for the subscription right here as we add. Here we go, Grok. What do you got going for us? Oh, we're talking about export restrictions now. We're talking about Russia, Iran, and Cuba with the Venezuelan oil assets has tightened tensions. All right, Grok. What do we got? Come on, spit it out, sir. Yeah, he needs more silver. Grok needs more silver. All right. All right. He's talking about cumulative deficits since 2021. We all know that. Multiple years of deficits in supply. Boom. We're going through the technical analysis part. All right. Spit it out, Grok. All right. Grok's prediction. All right. You ready for this? I predict a close at 44.60 up 0.3% roughly. All right. So he expects a very small up day. And then he says silver at 77.50 up 1.1%. So he does expect silver and gold to end up today. He is over 1 though. Brock is 0 for 1. He thought today was going to be $70 to $71. So take it with a grain of salt there. But I'm just playing this game because I want to see how reliable can AI be in predicting markets. We'll see what happens. All right, guys, ladies and gentlemen, that's officially it. I promise now that go over there and check out Vegas Stacker and Blue Collar Stacker if you guys want to continue having conversations about metals. You guys are awesome. Appreciate you guys all. And yeah, see you next time. Peace.